gentlemen. How you guys doing today? My name is Classic, and this is the Eminent Sports Broadcasting Network. For a video that I'm trying to do today, I want to discuss the past pay-per-view that happened earlier this month. Actually, it happened January 1st, New Year's Day, and that was the Luis Ortiz versus Charles Martin pay-per-view. Leading up to that pay-per-view, there was a lot of people questioning whether or not the pay-per-view was worth it. And I, as a boxing fan, found that hilarious. When that card was announced, if you just at face value, when you look at that card, you can see that it was a pay per view that was going to be worth the money. So let's take a look at it and let's try to understand what the agenda is on with some of these YouTubers out there and some of these other channels and some of the fans out there that are complaining about a heavyweight boxing card that has a bunch of names. Well, not a bunch of names, but a few names, but compelling fights for a $40 price tag. So, something I ask myself is, would I prefer to watch a card that's free where the entire card is not compelling? And when I look at this card, when it was announced, and as the names on the of the fighters started to come out later on, it was a no-brainer for me. Okay, so Fox on Free Fox, which is difficult for me to watch sometimes because I live in South Florida, and here we've been my Dish Network has been having a dispute with Fox, so I have to stream it. The Fox free portion of the fight. I wish you guys would get that shit together because it's kind of annoying. Where every time I gotta stream a fight when I have cable and have all the channels. Okay, so let's talk about it. Opening up on that card was two heavyweight fighters from Cuba. One fighter's name was Giovanni Brozun, and Linier Pero. Two fighters with undefeated records. I think one was 6-0, and the other fighter was 5-0. So they're getting matched early up against each other, which they could have probably waited a little bit longer, let that fight marinate, let both fighters establish themselves a little bit more over time. But that wasn't the route they were trying to go. I think maybe Brazun's handlers probably thought he was the better fighter and that he was going to get the job done. So they wanted to test him because I'm assuming he was the A card because he was announced second. Okay, so barn burner, really good fight. Went the distance. I thought Pero won the fight. Really compelling fight, and from what I'm understanding, based on the announcers, they were saying that Pero was a fighter that fought Luis Ortiz in the past. Not Luis Ortiz, I apologize. He was a fighter that fought Frank Sanchez in the amateurs and had quite a few wins over him. Um, Second fight, the main event on the free portion of the card leading up to the pay per view was Frank Martin versus Romero Dunno. If you guys remember Romero Dunno, I think he was knocked out in the first round by Ryan Garcia. Um, Interesting fight. I thought Frank Martin controlled the entire fight and then got him out of there in the fourth round. Um, After that fight was over, he called out Devin Haney, and we all know Devin Haney got bigger fish to fry at this time. He's probably the leading candidate to get the Cambosis fight, which he should be, because that undisputed debacle needs to be fixed. That situation needs to be cleared up. The WBC has created quite an issue in that weight class with that franchise belt, and I would love to see that shit poof disappear. Okay, so the pay per view kicks off with Victor Faust versus Iago Kalides, right? Multiple knockdowns in the fight. Uh, Very fun fight. Did not like the stoppage. I thought the referee did the fans a disservice because that could have been a really, really great heavyweight fight with a proper finish. I thought Kalidas got up and he was not hurt to the point where he could not continue. But the referee saw it the other way and he ended the fight. Okay. Multiple knockdowns in that fight. I think it was two or three knockdowns, two knockdowns or three knockdowns in the first round. More knockdowns in the second round. Really good opening fight to lead into the pay per view night. The next fight after that was Gerald Washington. Oh yeah, back. Let me get back to the Faust and Kalidas fight. Um, how should I say this? I'm the type of individual I don't like to really disrespect boxers, man. I think boxing is like one of the hardest sports, if not the hardest sports to be to take part in. A lot of these fighters don't get the respect that they deserve. There's a lot of injustice in the sport. Um, both of these dudes don't have no chin. And Faust, how far is he gonna go where he can't take a punch? So I'm questioning whether or not he's gonna be a future contender in this division because this is where the big boys play. So moving forward, Gerald Washington versus Ali Demirizian. Gerald Washington, you've had a decent career. You've made some decent money. It's time, my brother. Fight after that, Jonathan Rice versus Michael Coffey. And I remember this fight when it happened. It was on a Fox free pay per view card. Oh, no, sorry, a Fox regular card. Um, it was a good fight. It was dominated by Rice, who has multiple losses on his record. So I understand Michael Coffey wanted to run it back to try to redeem himself, thinking it was a hiccup. Well, the fight kind of went the same way. It was dominated by Rice. I thought it was a good fight. Michael Coffey didn't move his head properly in the fight. Um, Not so much of a shocker in terms of the ending. Kind of figured that that was going to happen, but you got to the fights have to play out. The fights just have to play out. Now we go into the co-main: Frank Sanchez versus Christian Hammer. Late replacement. He was supposed to fight Carlos Negron. Uh, I thought the Negron fight would have been a better fight because Negron obviously was training, preparing for this bout, and then he caught the COVID. Okay. Bigger heavyweight. So Frank Sanchez probably would have been tested a little bit more. But Christian Hammer, he's been around the block. Definitely had, he's fought the who's who of the heavyweight division. Pretty much came out with L's against most of them, but decent fighter knows how to survive. And guess what he did? He survived. Frank Sanchez, I'm not going to knock him too much. Late replacement. He did what he had to do, pretty much won every round. Solid fighter. So I would like to see him what he's going to look like moving forward. Last fight on the card, the main event. I mean, come on now. What more do we have to say? Luis Ortiz has been one of the most avoided fighters in the sport of boxing for years now. Years. Many of fighters have chosen to fight other fighters, went other routes instead of taking the Luis Ortiz fight, right? We ain't gonna call no names, but there's been some fighters that have been offered title eliminator to face Deontay Wilder to fight Luis Ortiz, and they've declined that offer. So we're not gonna beat around the bush. Luis Ortiz is a solid heavyweight, and for people to question whether or not he's justified of being a headliner on a pay per view on a stacked card. Now I understand if the card was not stacked. This was a stacked card. Very entertaining night of boxing. And you could have seen that at face value. You didn't need to see it play out for you to be able to understand that this was going to be a good night of boxing. Charles Martin, former heavyweight champion of the world, Whether or not you feel as if he deserved that belt, it is what it is. He was a former champion, fought Joshua, and got knocked out by Joshua. Two highly ranked heavyweights going up against each other for a title eliminator, which doesn't seem like it was a title eliminator after all, when there's still the IBF is still barking at these dudes to fight another eliminator, which is the winner, Luis Ortiz. Good fight, ended in a knockout, compelling ending. I don't want to go too much in detail of these matches because this is the first video I'm throwing out there. I just want to get something out there, but let you guys have an idea, the train of thought that I have when it comes to the sport of boxing. Now, the pay per view was definitely worth it. Compelling card, and something that I'm trying to do, something that I want to do with these boxing cards and these fights that haven't happened monthly, where a lot of people question whether or not the card is worth it, or this guy's a bum. Why is he fighting this guy? We're gonna do a little exercise every single month. We're gonna try to watch every single boxing card on on Fox, on Showtime, on pay per views, on ESPN, on ESPN Plus, and on the Zone, from Matchroom on the Zone and Golden Boy on the Zone. And every month we're gonna put a victor out for that month. Which card was the best card of that month? That's just a little exercise that I'm going to conduct, and we're gonna see what 12 boxing cards that we have for a good night of boxing by the end of the year, and we're gonna decide if that if who's the winner when it's all said and done. So I'm gonna try to watch every fight, which I normally do. You know what I'm saying? Because boxing is my favorite sport of all the other sports, and we're gonna cover all the other sports to a point. But I want to see what cards are gonna lead the way, in my opinion, of course. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna have other inputs from other, you know what I'm saying, people that I know, friends that I know that love the sport of boxing and have their opinion they want to weigh in. But a lot of this is gonna be based on my opinion, right? Because I feel like my opinion is very strong, and I'm gonna be able to back a lot of this stuff up with facts and information that I feel is important in the determining factors leading up to that decision. All right. So, like I said, so if I'm gonna give this card a rating, I'm gonna give it a B. I give it a B minus. The reason why I'm gonna give it a B minus, I don't want to set the bar too high, right? By me looking at the let's take a look at what other cards are gonna be coming down the pipe later on. And whenever I look for the boxing schedule, I always go to the boxing scene. The boxing scene, I feel like they have the most comprehensive list of fights coming up, and they pretty much cover both. They pretty much cover all the different the promotional companies and the different networks that put these fight cards out. So the cards that are going to close out the month of January are these fights: the Joe Smith fight versus Steve Geffrod, Gary Russell Jr. versus Mark Mixayo, Makabu versus Minchu, and Consejo versus Martinez. So those are going to be the cards that are going to close out the month. And we had another card. There was a showbox card that happened about, I think it was last week. Um, didn't really discuss that card. I might throw a video up on it. And at the end of the month, we're going to see which card prevail for the month. So right now, I'm giving the heavyweight card, a B minus, right? Maybe a B. You know what? Let's give it a B, and then let's see how these other cards play out for that month. So as it stands, we're giving the Luis Ortiz versus Charles Martin card a score of a B. and then we're gonna see which card can compete with it for the month, and then we're gonna see which card prevailed for the month, and so on. February, March, April, May, June, on forth, so on, so on. All right. So thank you guys for taking a little bit of time to hang out with me, discuss this pay-per-view card that was $40 price tag, featuring a bunch of heavyweights. One, two, three guys that were all ranked in the top 10 in the heavyweight division. A compelling lead into the pay-per-view card on Fox, and every fight was decent, man. There was no boring garbage fight. Some people might say the Frank Sanchez fight versus Christian Hammer fight was boring, but you have a boxer versus a late replacement, and the boxer prevailed. And I love boxing. I prefer a good boxing match over a slugfest any day. But anyways, this is your boy Classic, and I'm exiting the premises at this time. You guys have a blessed night, and I'll see you soon. All right, y'all boys.